Hello, and welcome to Get Good, a series that should help you to get as good as I am at some things, which is to say, just good. My very first episode, which you've clicked on, is centered around the only one of the 14 weapons in Monster Hunter World that I play with any regularity, the Charge Blade. I chose this weapon when I began based on its description and its resemblance to a Selkie's paddle from Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, but I had no idea how intricate and rewarding it would turn out to be. 750 hours later, and I'm still learning new little tricks to use in a hunt. Shoot, I barely even started playing around with Savage Axe last week. Now I know what you're thinking. Yes, I play Caveman Unga Bunga Discharge style. However, the things I will be sharing with you today will apply to Savage Axe just as well, since you will still need to foray into sword mode to charge your files and use your shield. And speaking of your shield, I will also be sharing 2 new guard points I have found that to my knowledge have not been showcased in another tutorial. No, I will not timestamp them. No, it's not because I don't know how. Just settle in and take in the lessons so you can get good too. So I've actually been working on this video for longer than I'd like to admit, and a huge chunk of it was nullified by the Raging Bracky update pushing the Charge Blade meta forward. All of the equipment pieces I had planned on reviewing are obsolete, so just go craft Raging Bracky stuff. At least it's simple, I guess. That said, I do have a couple of opinions to share with you regarding what skills are best to build. First and foremost, capacity boost. This skill is frequently called a necessity, but in my opinion, it is a luxury. There is no piece of armor this comes on that is worth murdering your build over. If you don't have the jewel for this skill, you're better off with extra attack or agitator. It hurts, I know. I only got mine recently, but it will be worth it when you finally get it and slot it into an already close to meta build, rather than finally bringing your janky ass build up to par just because you can finally drop your Bracky Helm or Dodo Greaves. Big XD. PSA, it's not worth to take it on your charm either, when you consider the other options. Capacity boost raises your full discharge damage by 20% at best if you land all 6 files. Your charm is better off being used for one of your vital skills like focus or the skill I'm covering next, offensive guard. Yes, I just called offensive guard vital. It is just such a great skill for discharge play. Provided you have a point in the guard skill, you can discharge off the back of most guard points, and most guard points will trigger offensive guard. I say most because the condition to triggering offensive guard is not activating a guard point, but rather having raised your shield shortly before blocking a hit. What this means is that if you stand with your shield up for a while and wait to time your Y press for the vanilla guard point everyone loves, you may not see offensive guard activate. On the flip side, it means that mistiming a guard point that allows you to block immediately after can trigger this skill. More on this later. At plus 5% base true raw per point, every level of offensive guard feels good, and I run level 3 on every set. However, I recommend you take at least level 1 to incentivize guard pointing in general. As stated before, this is a great skill to run in your charm slot, however, it pairs in level 4 jewels with attack and expert, making it a solid offensive choice to slot as well. Do not sleep on this skill. The only other skill I want to make special note of is Power Prolonger, and for one very specific reason. If you are like me and enjoy the Glider Mantle double level 4 slot maintenance meta, you need to try Enhancer maintenance jewels. I don't like that the other skills that pair with maintenance in level 4 are all conditional skills, Agitator, Heroics, Latent Power, and you're equipping them to a piece of equipment you're not always wearing. It just makes those skills even more conditional and feels bad to me. However, with Power Prolonger level 2 slotted into your Glider Mantle, charge your shield with your mantle on and it will stay charged until your mantle is back up, or close to it. This can enable you to get a decent rhythm going in a hunt where you only charge your shield right before your Glider Mantle expires. Just try it and thank me later, okay? Moving on to the meat of the guide now, tactics. Just kidding, but for real. Without mentioning Axe Mode's high reaching and AoE sweep attacks, I want to highlight the Charge Blade's mobility and versatility. I generally insist on taking the Charge Blade into any and all matchups, with only a few exceptions. Fuck flying wyverns. Let's begin with the shield thrust. At first glance, this move seems like it will have limited applications. It has a tiny range and pitiful damage, but it trades both of those things for raw flexibility and a little bit of safety. This is my favorite pivot move since it's available after any move in sword mode. This means you can lace this into your combo every other move, though that's not necessarily something you should do, just something you can do. I use this move when I need to figure out what the monster is going to do next. It has an extremely long input window for your next move, that also contains a guard point. I don't know if it's been in the kit since base or got put in with Iceborne, but I didn't even realize it was a thing until I was going through the footage to make this video. I have since been able to use it with decent consistency and am working on lacing it into my combos. The next move I want to go over contains the second new guard point I want to show you, and that is the transition to Savage Axe. I use this move when my discharge is going to miss and I don't want to use my files. But by using it this way, I was able to discover that it covers the right side of your character with a guard point. I would imagine someone else has discovered this, given that Savage Axe is the speedrun meta right now, but I haven't seen it covered in a tutorial yet. The last move I want to cover is the Slash. This move comes in 3 varieties, and I will be covering each in depth because this move completely unlocks the kit in my opinion. The most important part of this move is the guard point at the end and the amount of safety it offers. I've heard this guard point referred to as high-level Korean StarCraft player shit, and I'm here to debunk that. While it does require a degree of intuition and foresight to use effectively, it's not more than you develop from learning the charge blade in the first place. The trick to using the guard point effectively is A. Use it more, obviously, and B. Resist the urge to buffer your next input. This guard point is long. Inputting another command before the animation is done will cancel the rest of the guard point, unless that input is right trigger. Holding right trigger during the guard point will allow it to finish and leave your guard raised after. From here you can wait to time your Y press if you need a little extension on your safety. This is effectively 2 guard points back to back. I use this tactic multiple times per fight, and the reason why brings me to my next point. This slash follows up so many moves. The first variation of the slash that I want to cover, the spinning slash, is an effective combo ending move with high damage and great file buildup. This move is available after many moves you frequently perform, such as your charge slash and your lateral hop. In my opinion, this is the move that solidifies the charge blade's role as a pressure weapon, allowing you to finish dealing damage and stand your ground. If you're stopping your combo to raise your shield and guard point, you're doing it wrong. Use this move instead. It also has the added bonus of not locking you into a long transformation animation if you mistime it, allowing for another guard point immediately. I cannot stress the utility of this move enough. The second variation is called the round slash, and it's a move you ought to already be pretty familiar with, as this is the move that charges your files to your shield, and also the move that accompanies the transition from axe mode to sword mode. If you are a Savage Axe player, this is going to be your most reliable way to get your shield up and block a shot. The same trick applies here, just chill for a second after the round slash to take advantage of the very generous length on this guard point. Now I've saved the best for last. The sliding slash is my favorite move on the charge blade, bar none. It wasn't always though. When I first picked up this weapon, I was very frustrated by how often I performed this move on accident and how long of an animation it locks you into. However, once I learned to use it well, it became an integral part of all my combat. I also spent a long time thinking this move activated affinity sliding, so I became pretty familiar with it. Boy was I mad the first time I saw the skill affinity sliding has activated. Big oof, but moving on. Like the shield thrust, this move can be performed after any other move, including your lateral hop. This allows for a cheeky gap closing technique I like to use in medium range scenarios where sheathing is impractical or I need to pressure the monster immediately, such as after a KO. Alternating between a forward sliding slash and a shield thrust can cover some pretty decent ground while keeping your weapon out and spending no stamina. The sliding slash move can be performed in 4 directions. Backward and forward are great distancing tools, but the left and right variations of this move are interesting because they don't move you in a straight line, but rather a hook-shaped path that turns you 45 degrees toward the direction you came from. It travels out then back in, making for a very rewarding dodge that can adjust the angle of your shield for the guard point that follows. Sometimes I just spam this move to jockey for position around a monster and wait for an opening. It's not the best DPS, but I'm not putting out optimal numbers anyway, and I would rather survive, to be honest. Lastly, from melee range, a single backward sliding slash will put you at the perfect distance to land your full discharge, and will usually eat up enough time on a knockdown that the monster is on its way back up by the time you wail on it, often producing another knockdown, especially towards the end of a hunt. One more quick tip. If you ever need to sheath in a hurry, you can always start sheathing right before you drop off a ledge, and instead of jumping or sheathing, you simply drop straight to the ground, ready to heal or use your item or whatever you need to do. Try it sometime. Well, that's all the information I had to share with you guys. Sorry if this ended up being more of a love letter than a tutorial, but it's exactly that passion that motivated me to produce this video in the first place. I really hope you learned something. If you enjoyed my freshman YouTube outing, please like and maybe even subscribe, or check out my Twitch stream for Monster Hunter Mondays. I've enjoyed doing this and will continue to do it, though it will be a while before I revisit Monster Hunter. Here's hoping that I taught you something, and remember, GG stands for Get Good.